today's webinar. We have three speakers today. I want to introduce them to you all. Let's see if Dorus is there.
Yes, I am.
Okay,
good afternoon.
Perfect. We have Dorus de Graaf, IT manager van Egmond Lisianthus. We are grateful he's with us to tell the story from the other side of the world, like he's from a young plant company. We have Bram Wiggers, which is an AI engineer for the company Track32. It's basically the technology we're talking today. And we have William van Luna, who is a seasoned software specialist for our industry for like 20 years already. So he knows a lot about the software side of Agriware. Let's go to the next slide where we go through the topics of today. First, we start off with the introduction of the app from Track32. Then we would love to hear the story from Dorus, who told us more about the use case they use, how they use the app, how they track the seedlings, how they track the germination in day-to-day work, and what the added value of Agriware is. And then William is going to talk about the connection between those apps and what we do with those data points. And feel free to ask your questions in between. We don't want to wait all the way to the end, and you can drop your questions in the chat. And we will interrupt the speakers and ask the question right away. So I want to give the floor to Bram.
Yes, thanks, Harold. I think it's super nice that we can do this webinar together. We've been working together for a long time now, and I think the new setup is really nice. So my name is Bram Wiggers. I'm from Track32. We are a computer vision company for the last 7-8 years. And we specialize in software where we analyze images. We did a lot of projects and things over the last years, but there was one problem that was coming back all the time, and that's the manual counting of usable plants. There's several reasons why this is a main problem for a lot of people. And the first thing is that it's a lot of work. So it just takes a lot of time to go through a tray and manually classify every plant as usable or not usable, and even counting the germination is also a lot of work. And especially with usable plants, if we need to say like which one is big enough or which one is too small to be usable, this creates internal inconsistency. And the reason is that when different people count the same tray, the difference can be up to 10%. And this is a huge difference when you're calculating usable plants, even within the same company. So this is what we call internal inconsistency, but it also creates a problem across the whole value chain of the seeds. Because if different companies count differently, we get external inconsistency. So especially the big seed suppliers, they have one way of counting, and if the propagators or the nurseries have different ways of counting, this can create friction, and this is what we absolutely do not want. We want one way of measuring these usable plants, and this is why we made the seedling measurement app. It's a very accessible way to automatically count usable plants, and it works as follows. So first you take a picture, like you see over here. And what the model does, it goes over the picture and it will see all the different seedlings, like right now in green and in red. Of course, the green seedlings are the usable ones, and the red seedlings, they are too small to be sold. And of course, if you wait long enough, then eventually you might be able to sell them, but this is not what customers want. They want one uniform batch that's ready to be sold. And this is also what you get in the result analysis. So at the top, you have the amount of seedlings that have been detected, so everything together. And that means that there are 19 unusable cells, like the empty cells we see over here. And that means we have a 92% germination rate. And this is different from our usable rate because there are also plants that are not usable. And this is decided upon based on size. We take a formula for that, and based on that, everything that is too small, we remove from the usable plants. And this distribution of all the plants you see at the bottom, it's the leaf sizes in millimeters squared. And what we want, of course, is to have a very uniform tray, uniform plants. But in this case, some of the plants are too small and the uniformity is not good enough to make everything usable. So this is a small overview. I can show it in the app as well. I will quickly change my screen. So right now you can see what you will see when you open the application. It's a web app, so you can open it on the PC or on your phone. And when you log in, this is what you will see. So it's all your batches. And when you say start scanning, you will go to the scanning screen. You can select different types of analysis. And right now we're going to look for seedlings. So we select the seedling finder. Here you enter your batch number, which should align with your Agriware job ID. And this can be scanned from a barcode which is connected to your batch. Also, you can fill it in by hand, which I will do right now. And you can select your tray type, your crop type, and the total amount of cells. Sometimes different trays are not fully sewn. They are sewn in a checkerboard or only specific rows or columns. And this way, if it's less, you can use it like that. You can add comments if there are specific things wrong or if you're doing specific tests. And eventually, what you want to do is take a picture. So when you take a picture, what will show is the picture over here. On your phone, it goes to your camera. When you're using it on the PC, you can upload something. When we have a bigger batch of multiple trays, we can't only count one tray because then the sample size is way too small. When you're doing manual counting, you also count multiple trays. So we take another picture and we add this to this specific batch. After that, we have three possibilities. We can take more pictures. In this case, I will leave it at this. We can immediately go to the next batch, which is what you will do in production. We will take all the pictures one at a time. But for now, we can say start processing, and then we can look at the results. So when we click that, we will go to the page that I've just shown before as well. And we see here the average amount of seedlings over all the pictures, the amount of empty cells, so the non-germinated seedlings, the rate of the amount of germinated ones, and then the amount of unusable ones. So we can also look at the images themselves, so we can see if it's actually what we would expect. So when we go to a specific image, we can go down, and here we see the image with the overlay of all the plants. So again, this is brassica in green. We have the usable ones, and here there's one small one in red, and this is what we cannot use. Here again, we have the histogram of all the different seedlings to see if it's uniform or if it's not uniform. So of course, this is just the data in one tool, but you want to have it integrated into the rest of your software. Before, it was possible here to download your batches as an Excel file. Some of the people in this webinar who already are using the app, they are used to work like this. But today what we're discussing is a new possibility to have it automatically integrated into the Agriware software. So I'll change
Yeah,
my...
Bram, there's
yeah.
quickly interrupt. There is one question: is it both for ornamentals and vegetables?
Yeah, that's a good question. Like Dorus will explain, that's more on the ornamental side of things. And next to that, we have a lot of clients using it for vegetables as well. So we have specific models for specific crops. That's also why you enter the crop at the beginning. But definitely tomato, cucumber, all those vegetables are in. The only thing that we're currently working on is leek, because it's very thin shaped. This is like a crop that's currently in development. So it's a good question.
Thank you.
I will go back to my other screen. So, like I said before, it was possible to download the Excel, but now it's way more integrated into your ERP software. So the start is still the same. You take a picture with the application that I just shown you, with the web application. And after that, your amount of usable plants will be inserted into Agriware. Well, the nice thing is that here all the data is coming together. So you can go two ways. On the one hand, you can analyze the data, for example, in Power BI. And this is what William will show at a later stage as well. Well, next to analyzing the data, you can also use it in the rest of your process, like updated planning, of updating your master data. And this is also what William will demo at a later stage.
We got another question.
Yeah.
If you have 1,000 trays in one job, are you scanning several and averaging the germination?
Yes. So if you have 1,000 trays, it's important to have a good sample. So it would be multiple with the phone. But if you really want good results there, it's also possible to scale to a drone, where the drone is flying over all of the trays, and then we analyze the data like that. So you can start small with the phone, like you're doing it now with the manual counting, and then go to the drone if you want more security. So what are the benefits? The first thing is that it's less labor. Counting a tray app is a lot faster, and that saves you just time, and it's especially the time of the specialized people. Next to that, you get objective seed quality reports, and this makes that you can use this also in the communication with your seed supplier, or the other way around if you're a seed supplier in the communication with your nurseries and your propagators. And the last thing, and this is, I think, the most important part, is that you have more security on your germination. You have more reliable data, and this way you can use your whole process even better. We have different packages with different prices. So you can start in a small way with a basic package for 200 euros a month, and then grow into the bigger packages. And like, I think the question was just now, what do you do with when you have really big batches with like thousands of trays? Then it's possible to do the autonomous drone, where you fly over all of the trays and this way be able to scan everything. This is more in the later packages. So what's the process? If you think right now, well, this is nice for me, I want to get started with this. The first thing is that we give you a demo. It's similar to what we do now, but we can specialize it more on your specific use case. After that, you can try it for free. We can give you a demo account, you can test it and see how the general models are working for you. You can have an internal discussion on how this works. And after that, you fill in an onboarding form. And here you can state the amount of trays, amount of crops, those kind of things. And based on this, we make a proposal for you. Based on this proposal, you can use the app with at least 30 images, and we use this to calibrate all of the models. This calibration is very important because we use machine learning techniques, and this way the models get better and better over time. They learn. And once this process is done, you can use it in production. Of course, these steps needs to be taken before we set up the connection, like the integration with Agriware. Because when the data is coming in there, it needs to be of very good quality, and we use the time before that to integrate everything on our side and then make the last step into Agriware when we can use it in production. Are there any questions?
We got 2 questions. One from Martijn. How do you determine what's usable and what's not? And how much time does a new crop take to be developed?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the first one, we're working now with big seed companies to work out standardized formulas. And for specific crops, we have specific formulas, but as a general formula, we take now 1/3 of the median. And we want to be open with this as well, because if we use the same method, this is very usable across the sector. And we find that this formula works for a lot of different crops. So this is also what we can discuss with you. And the second question?
Yeah, Leon got a question. Am I also training other people's models?
Yeah, that's a good question. We use general models. So we use visual information to train the models. That means that your data will be used to train other models. It is a possibility to turn this off, but that's only for like more expensive packages. We will never use germination or those kind of numbers to train models because we're not interested in that. So it's only the visual information.
Thank you. If there are no other questions, we move on to Doris from Egmond.
Good afternoon, you all. Harold already introduced me, and I said I was invited to tell you all something about the way we are using the Track32 app and how this app is adding value to our business. First, I will tell you something about our company. Then secondly, something about the germination counts and how it's working at our company. As third, I will talk something about the value that it's adding to the business. And then lastly, some more technical information about our integration and future steps. And after that, William will take over from Emprise to tell more about the technical information from their side. To tell something about Van Egmond Lisianthus, we are a young plant grower specialized in Lisianthus and only Lisianthus. We are producing young plants from seeds. Our customers are the cut flower growers that make the cut flowers out of it and sell it to the wholesalers or Royal Flora Holland. We are shipping to customers across the globe, so not only Europe, but also Asia, Africa, etc. We're always prioritizing quality, reliability, and practical innovations as long as it fits our operation. And as said, today I'm going to tell a bit about how germination counts and ERP integration together are changing our day-to-day work. And for the next slide. Yes, something about germination counts. Up until 2020, before we started working together with Track32, we were already doing some germination counts. We were doing manual counting by specialists. So that meant our growers who had a lot of knowledge about growing needed to go into the greenhouse, then check all the trays, counting it, writing everything down. It was quite subjective and error prone. Also meaning that we had quite long counting lists because we weren't processing the data anywhere in a smart way. So we were just counting a lot. It also took 5 up until 10 minutes per batch or job if you were using Agriware. And everything, as I said, was being documented on paper or in Excel. And now from 2021, we have been starting using smartphone counting. And that also means that we don't need to bring our specialist into the greenhouse. We can just send any staff member into the greenhouse to do the smartphone counting. With the smartphone counting, we also have a very objective and consistent way of showing data. Also, the counting lists have become very, very much shorter because we can now count based on logic. Sometimes we want to count a lot of numbers, sometimes we don't want to count them, and we can well, because all the data is in Agriware, we can make a logic-based counting list. Also, the time per batch went down from 5 to 10 minutes to 1 minute, or sometimes even below 1 minute per batch or job. And very recently, we see the real-time data sync with Agriware, our ERP system, which is also very useful to have all our data at one place. Then if we go to the next slide, if we look at what this delivers to us, mostly and most important is objectivity. It's no more a debate between the grower and the different growers about what we see. All the results are consistent. It doesn't matter which user is going to count it. It's also a better use of expertise. As I said, anyone can capture counts. Specialists need to spend time on growing. They don't need to spend a lot of time on going into the greenhouse and counting seedlings. All the records are being photo-backed. This means image and measurements are stored with each batch for later review. This also means that sometimes in summertime you see a variety growing differently, and then you can look back into last year to see how the batch was growing the year before, for example. Also, the availability at the office, which is instant, is very useful because the counts, they flow straight into Agriware and Business Central. That means that we are having multiple locations, one in the Westland area and one in Rijnsburg, close to Leiden. And our offices are in Rijnsburg, and when someone is counting in the Westland area, right after counting, we can see the data flowing into the office because it's going into Business Central right away. Then for the next slide, germination counts, about the integration and what's next. Because the API is sending the data directly to our ERP system, it's all clean and standardized as a data set. This means that for reporting and business intelligence, all the data is already ready to be analyzed. Also for in the future, because all the data is being sent as a clean standardized data set, this means that the data hygiene is very high. So because everything is structured, in the future we can start optimizing and automating the counting data. Right now, we are not using any automation yet because we want to take the rollout really step by step. We want to see how it works, when it's adding value, and then after it's being proven, we want to scale it up. That's a philosophy at van Egmond Lisianthus. I'm sure William can tell you a lot about what Emprise already can do with data, but for us, it's still figuring out how to be using this in automation, because you don't want to make big changes in your production if you're not certain about the right way of integration. That's it for me.
All right. Are there any questions from Dorus? Please leave them in the chat. And I will give the floor to William. He's going to
There's
talk
one
more
question
about Agriware.
pending, Harold. The question of Martijn, how much time does it take to develop a new crop? That was not completely answered by Bram. So maybe you can elaborate a bit more on that, Bram.
Yeah, it's a nice question. It really depends on the crop. So certain varieties, we already have them in our general models, and then it's very little work. However, there's also specific crops, like I mentioned earlier with the leek. There it might take more work. So this is also something you can check with the demo version. You can see how close the models already are, and based on this, we can discuss together how much work it will be.
Okay. I started to share my screen. So any other questions, Harold? Because I can't see the chat anymore.
No anymore.
Okay. Thank you. Then I will continue. Yeah, it's great to see how this app works, how also Dorus experiences the value of using the seedling count app by Track32. And I think by integrating it with Agriware, you can even get more value out of the solution. So I'm going to show you the concept, what we do with the data, and also step by step, I will give you a demo how that works in practice. So first, a little bit repeating the slide Bram already showed you. So when you do a measurement in the app, the data is directly sent to Business Central. So per batch, if you take multiple photos, we get the information with all the images and the measures, and we take the average. And the first step you can take with that, and that's basically what Dorus is doing, is taking this data directly from Business Central into Power BI, where you can do analysis, where you can discover trends related to job information, to lot number information like plant, germination, to suppliers lot information, so what your supplier specified, like the germination percentage, and then do a comparison. Based on what you discover in this analysis, you could already manually update your master data, like the germination percentage on your lot or on the jobs you still have to show in a later stage. When you change master data, like the germination percentage on a lot, Agriware will also ask you, like, do you want to update the jobs in the future, which you already planned with this lot, and then you can update the planning automatically. So this is a very kind of simple step to take to learn from your data, structure your data, and update your master data. But you can take it a step further. You can take this data directly into your process, into your planning. So what we can do with these countings is updating your job inventory. So you have your running jobs, and based on the actual counts, we can update the current inventory. Based on that, we also calculate forward what will be the expected availability for sales, because you can imagine if you count more plants, you will have probably more available for sales, unless you maybe you might run into shortages. So that's automatically updated based on this new counting, but also production planning, like labor and space you need in the next production phases, is updated according to your counting. So in this way, you kind of directly take the data into your operational system and update planning with based on accurate data next to the analysis, where you can learn from and maybe discover trends, the potential of a certain lot, and start planning on kind of accurate numbers. Okay, so that's high level. Let's go through that step by step. So what I'm going to show you is first a planned job. So that's a job which I just have shown, and we're going to count that with the track app. Then we will have a look at the results, that the fact that the data is fed back into Agriware straight away. Have a look at a Power BI report where we can analyze the results and see trends and so on. And then also look what it means to update the planning based on these countings. So let's start with a planned job. Then I switch to my Business Central environment, which is over here. So for the demo, I assumed you are familiar with Business Central, so I will kind of jump straight away into the details here. We're looking at one particular job, which is planned with a germination percentage of 75%. That's based on the lot or on the preference you've set up. Based on the 75%, we calculated the numbers which are required to finish up with 8,000 plants in the end. So we need to start with 12,000 and scroll a little bit to the right. We see that this is based on a container with 2028 plants, and based on the 75% germination, we expect 171 usable plants. That's what we kind of calculated this job on. So that's kind of the situation where we start with. What we're going to do next is go in the field and open, let's copy this job number. Go in the field, open the app and start kind of registering the, taking the images basically. So you can scan the barcode in real life, but now I will just key in the job number manually. We're talking about this tray, tomato, number of cells, and so the next step is to take a photo or multiple photos. And I'm going to do something strange. So maybe you should look away if you grow tomatoes, because I'm taking an image of brassica. But for this example, yeah, it's basically similar to what Bram already showed. So we've now taken 1 images, and if it's a big job, well, you might take 3, 4, 5, and 10 images as well to get a proper kind of picture of the complete job. So I can also take another image, pick this one with some less plants. And yeah, so I can continue to the next batch, but for now I'll start processing and look at the results. So it's processing both images, and this will result in yeah, what Bram already showed, the calculation of usable plants, including here the threshold and the histogram there. So here, basically same usable plants, and these are not usable, and same applies to the other one. So far, same story. And now we go back to scan new beds, for example, and then you can just continue. Well, as promised, this result out of the app is directly sent to Agriware Business Central. So let's have a look if we received this registration. And yes, there it is. Yeah.
We got a question from Matthijs. If
Yeah, go ahead.
information like the genus and trait type of a job badge is already available in Agriware, do you still need them to put manually in the app before taking a picture?
Yeah, that's a good question. Very sharp as well. So at this moment, yes, we're working on integration of that as well. So we can we already published the data of related to the job to track. So it's a matter of integrating that. So that's something we're working on for the short term.
Thank you.
Okay, so what we have here is just a table to start with all the results coming from Track32. So this is the counting on a job. We know the lot number because we know the lot number used for this job. We have the trait type and also here the usable plants, which comes on 85% usable rate. But compared to the 75, which was on the job, we have 10% better germination. So that's great. Maybe not realistic, but I think it's yeah, a great result here. Also on this line, you can kind of open up, you see here the hyperlink, you can open up the analysis page. So you can kind of get back into the Track app to see the details behind this registration. And I think that, yeah, that's very powerful also for later stage that you can see where this is coming from. Well, having this data in Agriware so allows you to do some analysis on it. Well, the first kind of simple analysis can already be done within Business Central. So I change here to the analysis mode, and I can see, for example, what has a higher germination than planned. And well, for now I grouped this per crop, and then I see all the details, again the hyperlink. But if you're familiar with this analysis view, you can create your own pivot tables and want to specify your own groupings. So that's already very powerful. So in the same way, I can also, for example, report on lot level. So here I have one seed lot, which has an average of 75% germination, but the average overall, which I measured, is almost 87%. And you can expand this and see all the jobs where this lot was used with the actual germination and the images again. And then last view I want to show you is a pivot view, just because you can pivot as well within Business Central based on this lot for every kind of inspection date. I have the measures here. Of course, you want to do more analysis, but this is already, I think, a nice overview within Business Central. So what is more to come then? Of course, pulling all this data into Power BI, because we have the data from the jobs and the seed lots. So then you can put this together in a dashboard to kind of analyze data and also see where you can make changes to master data properly. And I also worked on an example for that one. Well, basically, this is not tomato. This is a more generic overview. So what you see here, let's zoom in a bit, is, for example, germination by genus. So this is the potential. So basically, it's the highest germination ever counted. So that is the potential of that crop. Of course, it doesn't make sense on genus level, but in the next dashboard, I will show it also on lot level. We have the plant germination and the actual, and here you see over time also what happens. Kind of identifying what is critical, where are kind of the things I need to have a look at. But this is very high level, so in the same way you can also, for example, zoom into a specific lot number. So here I selected one lot, showing, okay, how many did I sow, what's the germination, what's the potential, so the maximum counted germination, but I calculated with 90%. So in the end, you see that I achieve a bit more than 90%. And here we have the timeline with also the details again. So this lot number is being used in these jobs with these results, with the variance. So yeah, if I continuously report a higher germination rate, it might be worth changing the master data in Business Central to calculate with that as well, to plan in a more accurate way. Okay, so that's the results. And the next step is to update the planning. So this is something that Van Egmond is not doing yet. But yeah, we can do this if you are used to count manually and update the job inventory, and we have customers doing that. You can now do it automatically. So how does that work? I go back to my list with countings. First, I approve it. Of course, you can also do this in batch. And then I click the button Update Job Inventory. And it's a live demo, so it's always, yeah, there it is. So this has been succeeded. So on the background, it updated this job, 164. So let's go back to this similar job and update this one, refresh. So now you see this 171 has been changed in a 195. So of course, it's a higher number per container, which results in a higher inventory level. And also in the next phases, you see here, we calculated forward what kind of your potential finished quantity is. In this case, I calculated completely until the end. I know that there are examples where when you sow more, it doesn't necessarily mean that you also want to transplant them, because if you don't need them, you better throw it away. Well, that's a configuration, but we can calculate it forward if you like, affecting the labor planning and the area planning accordingly. If you look at sales availability, for example, I've also put it in the item availability view where you can see the shortages and leftovers. This was the situation before I registered the germination. So I have a sales order with one job, so I have a bit of a leftover. But if I now recalculate this one, ooh, it's a good one. It's completely gone. Let me see if I can fix it real quickly. I know what I did because I allowed the filter here. I thought I will just narrow down the data set so that makes more sense to you. And then we lost it. Yeah, there it is again. So now you see this number. So this is potentially what I can make out of these plants. And I have a leftover of more than 2,000, which I can maybe sell to someone else. So that's an example of how you can update also your sales availability with this germination. Yeah, so that's the flow. So yeah, what does it bring you? Well, yeah, as already mentioned, you can in an early stage already get insight in the shortages and leftovers. So you can, well, at least know upfront that you have to inform a customer or for another item, or have leftover which you can maybe sell still to another customer. But I think planning in a more accurate way is maybe a bigger advantage, because if you have insight in actual germination, you can plan in realistic numbers, which reduces waste and also shortages, which also reduces cost and hassle in production. Another thing which we often see is if your crop performs lower than your seed supplier promised, you can also kind of report easily back towards the supplier with the structured and kind of reliable data set related based on the Fact32 analysis. And then last but not least, I think this registration makes life way more simple. You can count more with less effort, and let's count everyone, also inexperienced people, retrieving these results. So that's what you get if you use this app, and also in combination with our ERP system. Well, that was my story. And if you're interested, as Bram already mentioned, it starts with a conversation with Bram to make sure that the model and the solution fits your needs. At the same time, you can also contact us, your consultant or account manager, if you want to know more about this integration and how this works. So feel free to reach out, but we still have time. So also time for questions if they are there at this moment.
William, we got a question about the cost of the Agriware integration. What are the costs?
Well, basically the integration is for free. So we have the integration as a kind of an open API, but we need to do some configuration from both sides. So both at Fact32 and Agriware, it will cost about 1 day of consultancy and configuration to get it up and running.
Thank you.
But there's no license attached to this integration.
And we got a question for Bram about scanning the trays. If you're flying with a drone over a bench, how does it tell when one tray ends and the other starts?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So we have a specialized model which is cutting out every specific tray. So for a drone, this is of course very important, but also for the app, you can take pictures with other trays laying next to it, and the model will find only the biggest tray in the middle of the screen. So you don't need to pull out the trays all the time.
Right, and we got another question. Can the system handle counting with multiple seeds per cell?
Nice question. Simple answer, with the basic version that we've shown now, it's not possible because we're counting all the seedlings. And I think what you want is the germination per cell. So did a single cell germinate or not? And we are developing this. So it's currently being brought in production with one of our clients. But it needs some setting up to do. So it's not out of the box working for everyone.
So you need seeds to be in the cell.
Yeah, so I think this is another case where it might be, for example, open field. Is this what you mean, Martijn? What we see in open field when the seeds are not in a cell is that there's much more overlap. So if they're very close together, then they're growing together, and then it's harder for the model to deviate between different seedlings.
All right, and we got another question from Richard. Can the app also identify plants without an apex?
What do you mean with the apex? Do you have a Dutch word for it?
It's with
Yes.
with
So-
leaves, but no knob.
So we focus on plant in their cotyledon stage. So 2 cotyledons, that's when the model is working best. So I hope that answers your question. If it's bigger, it needs a bit more space, because if there's too much overlap, if it's like not possible to count by eye anymore, then it's not possible to count the plants anymore. I hope that answers your question, Richard. So about you, Martijn, the Bami-bakjes. Yeah, we're doing that as well. It's a similar answer. When you sow in a Bami-bakje, then the seeds might be very close together when you throw them in. And that means that they're growing also very close together, and hence you have more overlap between the plants. So it makes it a bit harder for the model. It is doing okay, but with the cells, it's performing way better. I hope that's clear.
I think